holidays of Patreoners, and you guys know that this is the happiest time on earth for me and the happiest time of the year because I get to talk with you, amazing authors, bring you guys some awesome holiday promotions, but just introduce you guys to these amazing and talented authors. And like every night, we have new authors, genres, all kinds of things come in tonight. So without further ado, because I know you guys don't want to hear from me, and I don't blame you, we're going to bring Josie up and we're going to get this conversation started. So Josie, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Thank you very much. And I'm like you, I love Christmas. I'm like the evil elf. I like Christmas, so I do all things Christmassy.
Right. It is just so much fun. And I feel like just people are nicer this time of year. I'm kind of like, why can't we all be nice, the whole year? But people are nicer this time of year. I'm
waiting on Santa. If they're nice for a couple weeks, then maybe they won't get coal.
Yes, I wish my children thought that way. I definitely wish my kids thought that way because they don't at all. But Josie, tell us what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
I believe I was born writing. I could make up a story with the best of them as a toddler. No lies, just stories. But I write comedy more than anything. My primary genre is cozy mysteries, but they all have a humorous element to it. I do also have a series of romantic comedies, which is The Three Bears. And I guess I can find humor in almost anything. And I try to find humor in everything. And it comes across in my writing. I'm the author of 16 novels, but I've also been writing nonfiction for probably, I'm going to date myself, well over 25 years. In online blogs, magazines, advertising, newspaper, you name it. If there was a job I could obtain that had writing to it, I would find it.
So what kind of nonfiction did you write?
I've written a lot of American history articles, a lot of gardening because I do love to garden, travel articles because I'm an avid traveler. We RV a lot. I was RVing before it was cool. If you count going, with my family, my parents, my sister, and that type of thing, I've probably been in an RV almost 40 years. So,
nice.
Yeah. So anytime somebody says, "Hey, you want to travel here?" I'm there. I'm done. I pack in a backpack and I'm your girl.
I love it. So where's the coolest place that you've been?
Oh,
I know I hit you with a hard one.
There's so many amazing, beautiful places. I would probably have to say Sunrise at the Grand Tetons. That was just middle of fall. The quaking aspens were quaking. The sun was coming up. There were, moose and elk all around, and it was pretty breathtaking and very humbling.
See, okay. I have to talk to you. Okay. We're going to have a powwow moment. my husband wants to do this backpacking trip in Hawaii, which I know Hawaii, right? Who doesn't? Yeah, totally gonna.
Yeah, really?
I know. I've never backpacked.
It's beautiful. Yeah.
I know. I've never backpacked, and there's like this 11-mile hike that you can do. And then you can stay on the beach and everything. Then you have to hike out. And there's this thing called Crawler's Ledge. I don't know. I was like, oh yeah, you just go around the mountain, like on the side of it. No, it's called Crawler's Ledge because some people get so scared because it's just rocks and you look down the oceans there that they crawl across. Yeah. And I don't do heights. And they're like, oh, well, then you should do it at night. No. No. So I'm like, I'm freaking out. But I was told that if I did it, then I could go to the Big Island for 10 days and I could do whatever I wanted to do. So I'm determined that I'm going to see this through because I want to go to the Big Island, right?
Right.
But, Matt, let me tell you, though, I've been watching videos and I know it rains there a lot. So if whatever tips that you have, since you traveled a lot, that I would appreciate at some point, just put them in an email to me because I haven't even planned it yet and I'm wigging out a little bit.
Well, that's okay. I haven't backpacked that far for a long time. The body's too old to do that anymore. We do backpack and I'll go for 2 or 3 days, but 10 days is nah. I've passed that medium in my life.
Right? I'm like, I don't know. and I have to go around the ledge. And I'm just like, oh, it's pretty, but oh, I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
know.
heights are I have to really work up to them. I have difficulty with heights. I've done a lot of trails like in Arches National Park and stuff, and I had people laugh at me because I had to crab crawl to the edge of one, but I did it.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
Hey, they can laugh all you want. It doesn't matter how you did it. It's you did it,
I
right?
did it. It was pretty ugly, but I did it.
It don't matter. It doesn't matter. It got done, and you can say that you did it, which I love. And so RVing is that's see nowadays it's called glamping. At least from everything that I've heard, like when you go in an RV and stuff, a lot of them, they're like, oh yeah, we like to go glamping, and because you have a shower and all of that instead of staying in a tent. My husband likes to rough it, and I'm like, I would like to glamp. So that's awesome. I've
Yeah.
never met like an RVer, that's done it for so long and gone to such cool places. And just
Yeah,
traveled.
we've managed to visit 49 of the 50 states and a good chunk of Canada. So, and we have a very small fifth wheel. I know they have those big Prevos and diesel pushers and stuff that are nicer than my house. We just have a very small one, but yes, my own bathroom is quite important. Take
Yes.
it from a mom of toddlers, teenagers, and an old broad. The bathroom is really important.
That is true because I have a 3 and a 2-year-old, and I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not hiking with them. I'm not camping in a tent. Nothing. We're not doing
Well,
that
they'll do the tent much better than you do. Trust me.
because they can care. It's all new to them, and you're sitting here like, I got to get up off the ground. I got
Yes.
to do all this stuff, right? I'm like, no, I can't. I just no, I can't do it. It's definitely one of those moments. It's not
Yeah.
gonna happen. And I love how you opened up with you were just born writing. I haven't heard that yet on this one, so I love that. I've heard like 8 and 12 and all of that, but I just listen to you talk, even about like traveling, right, and
Yeah.
everything that you've done. You're just so passionate about it, and you love it,
I
and it's
do. I mean, if I always laugh. I'm going to make a shirt that says Farmer Heart Gypsy Soul because I love to garden. I have greenhouses that I put up and I love to travel. So if I could have maybe a job for a gardening magazine, going to different like arboretums. Hello.
yeah.
Yeah. So, but and a lot of my stories, a lot of my books come from traveling. It's like the Three Bears, which as my Christmas book is on special. We were driving through Wyoming, and my mind goes to those amazing weird places. And I thought, I wonder what would happen if some goth girl backup singer landed in one of these little towns with some Wyoming ranching cowboys. And so the Three Bears were born. So there's Abby's the first one, and she's a backup singer for a goth band, punk music, and she gets stranded in January in the middle of small town Wyoming. So it's quite an adventure for her with the cowboys and how they interact with each other.
See, this is my favorite part about authors is you guys can just be on vacation or traveling through a city, and the next thing you know, there's some kind of story that has just evolved and come out of it, right? And I think that's
True.
just it's the coolest thing. Like no matter
Aw,
what
thank
genre
you.
you write it, it's the coolest thing that
I think
happens.
it's because I was a lonely child, and then I could make up stories everywhere I went to amuse myself.
Right. And I mean, your guys' imagination and your creativity just never ceases to amaze me and the stories that you come up with. I mean, even if you went down the sci-fi route, the worlds that they come up with and they build, right, are so
Yes.
cool.
Oh,
And the
yes.
mystery and the thrillers, right? And the way that they think and how those murders or whatever went down, right?
Right.
And you have the humor. And okay. I'm a sucker for really good humor. I tend to find myself very funny and I laugh at myself and I enjoy it. So a good humor book, or a good book that has humor in it, where I'm just like, this is great. And it's like awkward moments. I'm like, this is me, even
Right.
better. And I think finding those like you guys do and just any little thing inspires you guys, which is the coolest thing. I wish I had that inspiration just like looking around. It's the
One of the talking about dead bodies, one of the funniest stories of mine is I was with my husband, and honestly, we were in Pennsylvania traveling again, and we were at the Mother Earth Fair, Mother Earth magazine and all of that. And there was a group there that was talking about making compost something so awful and benign. And they had added this type of grub to the compost that broke it down very quickly. And my thing is, I turned and looked at my husband and I went, my God, what a great way to dispose of a body. And the entire area went completely silent. He's like, she's a writer, people. She's a writer. So yeah, those things yeah, I'm the person you don't want to sit next to in church, that kind of thing.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to sit next to you. You sound like a lot of fun. I love that. My mother's the same way because where we live, where my mom lives now, there's like a turnaround underneath that goes underneath the bypass.
Right.
And it used to just have a ton of woods. And every time we would go to take that turnaround, she'd be like, I'm telling you, there's dead bodies in there. They're never going to. Mine does it. She loves like the first 48 and like Live PD and just all of these murder shows and like everything. And so I'm like, oh my goodness. So when you said that, that sounds like something my mama would say. And I'm just like, yes, you're my people. You know,
yeah.
I'm telling you, anything sparks like a story for you guys. It's almost like, like in the eyes of a child, how like everything is so just like awesome and cool and new and creative and all of those things. You guys just like never get out of that realm. And I am envious of that because I want to have the minds of you guys. Maybe not.
I don't. I've always had a notebook with me or a recorder. I'm very old school. I like a notebook, but I also just have a little digital recorder. And if anybody ever read it, they would probably commit me. But it has, fragments of things that I think of and that I catch. And I should probably do it more for my real life versus the fiction life. It would be helpful. But, I have always had a notebook at some level, whether I was working on a nonfiction story or whether I was working on a book.
So what made you want to, like, which came first, nonfiction or fiction for you?
Nonfiction.
So what made you decide to jump from nonfiction to fiction?
My warped imagination. I sold my first story when I was 17 and I've been writing ever since. And I've had a lot of rejection, and I learned very early not to take it personally because I've also worked as an editor, and as an editor of a publication, you're looking for specific things to fit your editorial calendar and so forth. And generally when an editor rejects you, it's not so much you personally or your writing, it just doesn't fit what they have coming up. Right. And if you realize that, then it doesn't quite gut punch you so bad. Sometimes it still does. I mean, we're all human. But when you look at it from that perspective, it's a little easier to take the rejection. And after having dealt with that for a number of years, being turned down by a publisher, I'm like, yeah, okay.
I'm going to move on. Gonna move on. Well, 17 is when you sold your first story. That's incredible. Wow. Yeah. What story was that one?
It was about an apron.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It was about an apron, and seeing my grandmother in an apron and what an apron meant. And today you don't see them. Women don't wear them as much. I think in some ways they're making a small comeback. I've seen them in a lot of stores, making cute little aprons, but I don't think people are at home and so forth like they used to be. And it was where she would gather eggs in the apron and wipe her hands on the apron. And there was always, the love that came with that apron.
Oh my God. Okay. I've never thought about putting the eggs in my apron. That's genius. Like, that would save me so much time than carrying the carton over because, that just, that is.
It must have pockets though. You need pockets for the aprons or for the eggs.
Yeah, for sure. So here, the funniest thing about that is my husband wears an apron when he does like the dishes or he cooks and all that stuff. That's why to me, I was just like, oh yes, they're making a comeback. It's the most funniest thing. And, it has to be all like masculine, like, it almost.
Yeah.
I know, right?
He's the grill guy. That's right.
I know, but it's one of those in my Amazon cart for him right now, and I can say this because he's not watching. I have one that just has cats all over it because he loves cats, and it's just like one of those gag gifts,
Yes.
It's like, ah, now I have to order it. That's so perfect. I have
Well,
got to
here's
go.
the story for you. A couple of years ago, I told my husband for my birthday, I wanted a Blackstone. I wanted a Blackstone grill, and he was thrilled to death. And I have to
Mhm.
tell you this, if any ladies are watching, just tell you want a Blackstone grill and you never have to cook again.
True. Oh, yes. Genius. That's genius. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna take notes from you.
And then
Yeah.
have the kids buy them, the sets of spatulas and everything that go with it.
Right? Oh my gosh, you are set. You are a genius woman. I am gonna
Thank
take
you. Thank you.
oh my gosh. I'm taking notes. That's what I want next year. Yes. For sure. Oh my goodness, you're so much fun. I absolutely
Yeah.
love talking with you. So tell us a little bit about the inspiration for you that made it where you at 17, right? Where you decided that you were gonna write this story and try
Um,
to tell it.
I guess I was always making up stories. The first thing I ever wrote was a movie script at the age of 10. Um, I loved SWAT and those kind of military movies. And I wrote
Yeah.
my little script, where I was like the secret agent. I'm never going to be a secret agent or SEAL team or special forces because pretty much I'm a coward. But I can live that vicariously in a book character. I'm the one that if I was ever put in a position to be with, covert ops, they would ask me to defect. But through the character, I can be those things. And that was a lot of fun as a kid. We moved a lot when I was young. So I think that helped with the moves and those kind of things to live in a little bit of a fantasy world.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that. That would be like, if I were to write, which all of you guys know, everybody listening, and you guys know, I'm not a writer. I live through you guys. But I feel like if I was ever going to write one day, it would be one where I'm just like this really cool, like mafia leader that's just like the coolest person and like no one wants to mess with them, right? Because in my head and in my household, this is my mafia realm. I run this household. And in my
Yeah.
head, right? But in reality, that's never going to happen, So
No, it's that way. You can kind of be. I think when you're a kid, there's so many things you want to be when you grow up, or at least, and I'm still, there's things I want to be when I grow up, and lifetime is too short. So I think writing is one way to be those things that you're not going to be able to do and in your lifetime. So doing research into it and visiting those places, I think helps satisfy that craving that most of us have to be the NASCAR driver or be the rocket scientist or, be the first one on Mars or whatever, your fantasy of growing up and being that special person happens to be.
right. Yeah, all the people that you see in like these action movies and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah. Yeah.
love
I can be Laura Croft. No problem. Yeah.
that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. I can totally just do that and walk away. And like, no,
Sure.
I don't
No
have any cuts,
problem. Especially
bruises.
in that tight leather outfit. I wouldn't breathe, but
Okay. Be uncomfortable. You just sit there and be uncomfortable. And you're like, why did I make this decision? Yeah. No,
yes, true. Yes.
exactly. So what's your writing style like? I know you mentioned that you've always had like a notepad and you had a recorder and all that. So are you more like a pantser or do you plot out your books, even your fiction
Um,
books?
I generally am a pantster. The thing that I found is I kind of really hurt myself writing a series because I didn't outline it. And I've gone back and edited a few of them and found out, oh, I should have outlined this a little bit more. If you're writing a series, I do think you need to have some type of small outline so that you know what the characters are, what the characters are doing, who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. And the first mystery I ever wrote, I'm writing away, I'm into it, I'm in the zone. And by the time I got to the end of it, I had no idea who the murderer was.
That
So
sounds like
I had to go back and figure out and, add some clues for the reader to figure out because by the time it ended, there was nothing that led up to this character murdering the person in the book. So it taught me a grand lesson to do, if you're doing murders, and especially if you're doing a series, you need to have a little bit of an outline. But otherwise, some of my standalone books, they're just off the cuff.
yeah. See, I feel like if I everyone knows this is I failed outlines in high school and I have PTSD from them. So
I know.
I don't use outlines. Okay. I am
A,
traumatized.
A1, A2. I'm like,
No, I'm traumatized. I'm telling you, like I would fail my paper because it didn't match my outline. I'm like, but it's just an outline. Just see
yes,
PTSD. I can't do it. But I could see, like where a brief kind of outline, like when you're doing a series, right? With
right, right.
fitting and stuff like that, and the pantser. So, do your characters, in your stories and stuff, do they kind of just take it and run in a different direction than you had originally thought, or do you kind of wrap them in, like, listen, we're going to
Oh
go
no,
this
they're wayward little creatures. No, no. I have zero control over them. No. I know what I want them to do. I know where the story wants to go, and then all of a sudden I'm like, and I'll end up somewhere very unexpected.
right? See, that seems to be like the most common theme. And yet again, I would be one of those things for me personally where I'd be like, list no, I'm like, if I was doing like a murder mystery, or like a psychological thriller, the moment they didn't listen to me, I would just kill them off. And then I would have no characters because they all would have annoyed me and they would just all be gone. And they'd be
Well,
like,
when
oh,
it's the good guys, though, you can't kill off the good guys that
no,
often.
but
Every
if
once in a
they just don't listen, and maybe it's because I have toddlers at the moment
oh,
that
it's like children. Yeah, yeah.
it's very much probably because of that, for sure. But tell us a little bit about your latest book.
Well, I'm just finishing up the fifth book in the Mason Dixon series. And Mason Dixon is a humorous, cozy mystery series about two sisters who happen to be twin sisters. One is from Boston, Massachusetts, and the other one is from a little town outside of Huntsville, Alabama. So, as you can see, when they meet each other, there's already some conflict built in. But what happens as the story goes along, each one was raised by a single parent. Um, and their parents both die on the same day. They've never met each other. They don't know each other. And they get this a letter in the mail, certified letter. It says, come to Washington, D.C. to settle said parents' estate, which both of them are kind of gobsmacked because neither one of their parents really had an estate. Well, once they get there, they see each other and they all of a sudden recognize that, wow, we look a lot alike. And as the story starts to unfold in a lawyer's office, they learn their parents were working for the government as engineers and on some kind of a top secret program. They separated when the girls were very small to keep them safe and went two different directions in order to keep them from being kidnapped or found by bad guys. And as the guy is telling them more information and more details, an assassin takes out the lawyer that's telling them what they need to know.
Oh my god.
And so, in order to keep them safe, they're in kind of a witness protection program that the U.S. Marshals would actually have a heart attack over. But I did take some fictional license with. And they end up at a house that is a safe house their parents built for them or provided for them in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And when they get there, as they walk down the beach, a dead body washes over them. So what starts that is their private eye business. Then their first premise with that is that, hey, if we start a private eye business and we get licensed and we can actually carry guns, then perhaps we can use that as a catalyst to help find out the truth about our parents and learn more about them. And then the process of doing that, dead bodies just keep showing up for them to solve the mystery.
Oh my
So
goodness.
each book, it resolves the mystery in that book, but it's still kind of open-ended about the truth about their parents.
Oh, okay. So do we learn a little bit more about their parents in each book?
Each book
Okay.
we learn a little bit more, yes.
I love that. I'm here for that. That's my genre, my realm. I know when Mimi spoke earlier, that's what I said. I like murder mysteries, like psychological thrillers. The more jacked up, gore, dead bodies popping up, I'm here for it. The weirdest thing, but yet I'm the nicest person, at least in my opinion. You probably will ever meet in person. You just don't want to meet me in my mind. It's
Yeah.
just no.
Well,
You
these
don't.
aren't real gory. I mean, they are cozy mysteries and they're fun. There's a lot of humor, of course, with Boston, the Yankee, Mason Dixon, and Alabama kind of butting heads. And so the bodies are not, it's not real gory.
Oh
But there's very inventive ways that I've knocked a few people off.
I'm here for it. I love that. I love that. So tell us about the holiday promotion that you're offering this holiday season.
Well, what I have here, I don't know if this is frontwards or backwards, but the first book in the series, The Line is Drawn, which sets the story of Mason and Dixon, is on sale for 99 cents this month as an ebook. And it will be on sale till the end of the year. So we'll have that one. The other one I have on sale, actually, I have two, is A Very Berry Christmas, because I have the three bears, and this is their Christmas story. And it's a road trip gone bad. And involves a Shoshone sage, and it involves a skunk and a blizzard. So
Oh my gosh, I have got to read that one.
and
I
it
love
also
stories like that.
it also is 99 cents. It's more like a Hallmark kind of a movie. It's a romantic comedy, but it's a little more like a Christmas Hallmark story. And it's also 99 cents till the end of the month.
Oh, I love it. See, the holidays just bring out that niceness in everybody. Oh, I love it. I love it. But Josie, thank you so much for joining me on the 12 days of Page Turners this year. It's always such a delight to get to talk to you. Our personalities are just identical. I feel like we were just picking up where we left off. So thank you
I
so
think
much
so
for
too. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, you're so welcome. Coming up next is Melissa. Melissa, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Oh, I am doing good. I'm doing good. So tell everybody what genre you write in and how long you've been a writer.
Okay, well, I am mostly known for medical thrillers, but I'm just going to add that I was really excited to hear Josie's talk because I too love humor and I write a lot of other things, including nonfiction, and in my case, fantasy, science fiction, and other stuff. But my last book is White Lightning. So that's the Hope C medical thrillers, where
Hmm.
I have a medical resident. So she's got her MD. I'm an emergency doctor in my real life, and she solves crimes in her spare time. So there are killers in the hospital. Hope is going to find them and seek them out and bring them to justice.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So you have tackled most genres. Kudos to you because sci-fi I feel like is one of the hardest ones to write in and takes the longest. So I'm here for it. Medical thriller is new. That is new to me and the 12 days as long as I've been
Oh,
doing.
great.
Yes. So okay, we're going to have to unpack that. And you are an ER doctor, is that what you mentioned?
Yes.
We're gonna be best friends here, Melissa. My sister is an
Yay.
ER. Her and her husband are ER PAs, and so it's.
Yay.
I know. So I mean, oh, I'm here for it. Okay, this is gonna be a fun conversation. So, what was the first genre you started writing in? What was your first book published in?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to back me up like Josie until it went to the very beginning, like the fetal writer. Um, which I was like, gosh, I don't know what I was writing when I was 6. But what did I write? The first book. Okay, so actually I started off in short story.
Okay,
So very first story, fantasy.
it was
Was
a
yeah,
okay.
written in Parsec magazine. Kind of a love story gone wrong in a futuristic world.
Oh, nice. Okay. I like it. So what made you want to jump from doing like fantasy, sci-fi, those kind of things to medical thrillers? Because those are, fantasy and thrillers are, a little bit
They
polar
can go together, yeah. But
opposites.
actually, the reason why I was writing fantasy and science fiction, I mean, I like it, but my then boyfriend, now husband, because I married my high school sweetheart, um, had said, "Why don't you write fantasy and science fiction? They have a lot of magazines." So I was like, "Oh, okay, that sounds smart. Like, why don't I?" And he already had books that I could just borrow and be like, "Oh, that looks great. Why don't I try writing that?" Um, and I honestly did not want to write about medicine at the beginning because if you're working in it 24/7, it's not fun. So
Right.
people at the hospital would be like, "Oh yeah, you do write. Why don't you write like Michael Crichton or Robin Cook or whatever they thought was a good writer?" And I'd be like, "Because I don't want to. You know, I was really sick of being at the hospital." And in fact, like I did write about a hospital, but I wrote a series about a wizard's hospital where there was a student who was learning how to be a wizard who would only cure magical diseases and stuff. And that was my way of getting away from medicine or rebelling against medicine. And it wasn't until I finally finished my residency and fellowship in emergency medicine, I was just like, okay, I can take a breather. And now I don't mind so much writing about medicine. And then people wanted to read it, so that I have gravitated more towards writing about that. But I still try to keep my hand in a few different things. Like I'm writing plays too now, for example.
Nice. I love it. So you just like to write, and so you're not afraid to dabble in anything that seems of interest to you at the time. And I think that's good. You're very versatile in that sense, and you do what you enjoy doing in that moment, which I think is the coolest thing. I love that.
Yeah, like maybe it's a bit ADHD, but I like doing different things, and I'm not, I'm not making a ton of money on it or anything like that. So then I'm free then to do what I want to do, which is more what I feel like doing.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us a little bit of, because you mentioned that you also have written nonfiction. So what are your nonfiction books about?
Oh, well, I'm best known for The Most Unfeeling Doctor in the World and Other True Tales from the Emergency Room. So that's a collection of essays about, being a medical student and working in the emergency room. It has I don't have it handy with me, but it has a bag with a skeletal hand on it. And that one was a bestseller on Amazon when it came out. So that when I decided to do theater, I was like, oh, you know what? People love to know what it's like to be an emergency doctor. And I already know the content is popular because it was a bestseller. So I'll just turn this into a play. So I did.
Nice. That is cool because it's something that you kind of, in a sense, you were like listening to yourself and readers and what people want to hear, like from you when they find out you're an ER doctor. They're like, well, tell us the craziest thing that's happened in the ER, right? And so you're like, well, instead of me just having to repeat this story, I'm going to write it. So I love that because you're giving people what they want, right? And a way that you don't have to continuously say these stories and stuff. So I can see why that was a bestseller, and congratulations on that. That's amazing. So you mentioned like back in the day, like when I went with Josie, and you talked about like when you were 6. So did you start writing when you were 6?
Yeah, I just remember being in grade 1 and I could write I could print and I could do cursive, and
Mhm.
the other kids couldn't. So they would come over and ask me to write their stories down. I see Josie nodding. Yeah. So when I would already be writing my own stories, so they knew that I could. And the teacher walked by and was like, well, we're not going to be able to teach you anything, and kept on walking. I was like, okay, it didn't bother me. But I thought it was kind of ridiculous because then I had to do like the to practice the cursive, even though I already knew how to do it. But whatever. She was a very strict woman. I actually just did an interview with King River Life, and I mentioned that like she would throw chalk at us if we were not paying attention with her writing on the board and stuff like that. Like I went to French school, so it was like they did not put up with a lot of crap.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I understood when you said you went to a French school. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like I get it. I get why that happened for sure. Oh my gosh, threw chalk at you? Oh my gosh, that would not nowadays. That would not fly. Not here.
Yeah. You're not allowed to throw chalk at kids anymore. I don't think.
No,
But
I don't think so. It's definitely one of those things you're not allowed to do anymore, for sure. But man, that is just so cool. I mean, I know how you mentioned it was like ADHD, because you bounce around to all these different genres. But I feel like there's so much that we can unpack with you because you've written sci-fi, you've written, medical thrillers, you've written short stories and plays and nonfiction. So what genre have you not written in yet that you're kind of itching to write in?
hmm. I don't know that there's one that I haven't written that I want to. Because if I want to, then I would write in it. But
Right.
there are things that I haven't written yet. So, for example, I do advocate for financial independence for people, like the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early.
Mm-hmm.
So I did some webinars for female physicians, and I do want to turn it into a book. I just haven't had time. So that's one of the things that I would work on, for example, with a caveat that I'm not a financial advisor. But here are some general principles that you can follow, which is just basically just low cost investing. right? If
Right.
you pay other people, you end up not making as much money. They end up making money, and it makes a big difference over time.
Right. Yeah. See, you are my kind. You are like, you take the world by storm, Melissa. I love that because you're just like, you can't tell me I can't do. I'm gonna do it. And so
Yeah, I've always hated people telling me what to do.
Right? Okay. Yes. So me and you are friends. Okay, you can come to Christmas dinner. Come hang out. You're more than welcome because I don't like that either. You can make advisements and I can choose those decisions, right? But no. And so okay, so let's unpack this. Do you have a different writing style for the genres that you write in, or is your writing style consistent across whatever genre you're writing in?
So one thing I have learned, like people have told me, like you have, how do they put it exactly? Basically, I have a strong voice.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that I say things is pretty identifiable. Like I have tried to post stuff anonymously, and the moderators come back and said, "I knew it was you. You better change it." So even when I'm making anonymous posts on social media, it still comes out, which is just that I'm very direct. I have pretty short sentences. Usually, I try to simplify things, not have a lot of jargon, and
Right.
just tell people like it is, like I would in the emergency room. Like for sure, medicine has changed my writing in that I try to be as clear as possible and take as few words as possible to save time.
Right. So, do you outline your books, or do you more kind of let them go by the seat of your pants, or what's your writing technique when you go into it? Does it change on versus fiction and nonfiction, thriller versus sci-fi, or is it the same kind of in all realms of your writing?
So I had to laugh when Josie was talking because I too am a pantser. And have written stuff and been like, but who is the killer? Like, I don't actually know. And I have to figure it out. But I like it because then you're surprised and the reader should be surprised, because I think that if you are a pantser, then if you're a plotter, then people might be able to predict it. And most books are predictable, like they're not that interesting, to be honest. Well, I shouldn't say that. Enough books are not interesting. So if you can really write yourself into a corner and get out of it, it should be pretty exciting. And the bad news is, like, I just end up throwing away so many words because I just wrote and I'm like, what happened there? I don't even know what's going on. And I also have to laugh because for the Hope series, that's the 9th book that I showed you, I did not outline the series, but I did have ideas what I wanted her to do, but it was not all planned out. But that's the end of that series. And I was walking my dog and listening to podcasts, and I was like, oh, I'm going to write about the 7 deadly sins. So it's going to be a 7-book series. It's still going to star Hope, but in this one, she has more paranormal ability, which is the ability to see ghosts. So that's another reason to start a new series. And I was really happy because I was like, okay, each book is going to be a different sin, and that gives me structure. And I had this vague idea that I wanted to do forensic psychiatry. And one of the forensic psychiatrists just reached out. She was like, oh, do you want to stay at my house and you can visit my hospital? And I was like, yes, I would love that. So I ended up driving, was it 3 hours or 4 hours? Like super far away, but everything's spread out, when you live in the country anyway. I live in Canada. And so I was like, oh, that is super. And I realized that was going to be the last book in the series, which is Pride, which is going to be all the killers coming back at the end. But I still have to plan all the other books. And the first book I have, The Shapes of Wrath. So I know anger is first. Right. But that still leaves 5 other sins. So this last month for National Novel Writing Month, which is NaNoWriMo, you try to write 50,000 words. I actually kind of split it across 5 different books. Just be like, now which sin is going to be next? What am I going to cover? What's the plot? Who are going to be the main people in this? And I had also done a Kickstarter for The Shapes of Wrath. So there were 4 or 5 people who put in $200 so that they could have a character named after them. And I was also interviewing them to see what sin they would want to be associated with. So I ended up having to work that into the book also. but I love that, because I love randomness and stuff. So um, it's fun to be able to work things in. But I ended up doing kind of the middle of what Josie was saying. I did a series without planning it pretty much at all, and this next series which has a bit more planning. And in this case, I think that was a smart thing to do. But I think it's kind of dealer's choice. Whatever you end up doing is good and can work out and be super fun. So that this is a time to go wild with your creativity. So I encourage people to just go for it.
Right. I mean, you never know what's going to happen or what kind of story can come about. Like I've heard a lot, in the 12 days and everything like this, that their characters just really take it and run. It doesn't matter if they outline it or they have no idea. They just know the story they want to tell. Their characters are going to do their own thing. So I feel like to an extent, right, and I'm biased because I failed outlines, you kind of have to be a little bit of both. You kind of have to have a shell of an idea or a story that you want to run and let, everything kind of fall into place, how it's going to fall in, so I don't really know. I don't necessarily, I know some are like pantsers strictly or outliners, strictly, but I feel like in reality, you kind of got to be a little bit of both. You kind of got to be flexible a little bit, because things are going to change or it's going to stress you out. And then you won't put out a book for like 5, 10, 15 years because you're like, what's happening? And no one's listening to me. See, like me, I would just kill off all my characters and been like, well, everybody died. There was like a nuke or something. Everybody died. It just wouldn't.
That's okay. You can write dystopian fiction, especially science fiction like that. And that works out. I was going to say, yeah, I guess for me, a lot of people love to categorize, it'd be like, I'm a plotter, I'm a pantser. Oh, thank you. I also love the shapes of wrath. But in life, like really, we're all a bit of both. So not to worry, like it's all good. We can all learn from each other. And even throughout your lifetime or, through the years of your writing, things can change. It's all good.
Right.
I just going to add while I'm here was that I went and I do have an apron. See, I went and got it because there was, I don't know why, but when, shortly after I had one of my kids, there was this site like the Haunted Housewife or something. Like she was like a horror writer and she wanted you to get dressed up in an apron and look housewifely, and she would post you on her blog. And so I got this pink apron and I pretended that I had a big pot that I pretended that I was going to put my dog in, which I absolutely was not going to, but just, it was like, we had a huge husky that would not have put in a pot anyway, but I just was like, oh, that's hilarious. So although I don't really use the apron, to be honest, like very much, I was like, hey, let me break out my apron. So here you go for you and your grandma, Josie.
I love it. Oh my God. And it's cute. Oh, it's like pink and polka dots. And I'm a sucker.
Yeah. And it does have pockets. So I could put eggs in it if I wanted. This is just my
I'm telling you.
air tag falling down. But so because you guys are all Christmassy, I just didn't have anything handy. And I was like, well, but I do have an apron. So I'll go get it.
No, I love it. And I'm telling you, the eggs in the pockets, man, that's a game changer for me. That's going to make me get my own apron. I'm telling you, it's a game changer. Oh, I don't have to walk back and forth and get the carton. I'm telling you, I'm here for it. But
and just as a silly sidebar, because I live in the country, my neighbors really do have chickens. And sometimes we do help them with their eggs. So I was like, but it's mostly my son who does it. I don't know if that he'll apron, but it's a thought. If you're ever in a bind, just bring your apron.
Oh, yes. It should be one of those that's like in every woman's purse is their apron in case they need something. You just never know. Or like, when you go out and eat or something and somehow something winds up on your shirt and you just don't understand why. It probably is just me, but I always get something on my clothes when I go out to eat. I don't know if it's from my kids or myself. So I feel like if I had an apron, it would just, keep me from ruining most of my clothes. That's how
when you think about it with toddlers, that is like when you have their bibs, that is what they're wearing, really. Like you just need to make it longer, which probably it should be anyway. So it should just be aprons for the whole family.
Yes, exactly.
Make it easier.
Yeah, Christmas gifts are done. We're all getting aprons. I'm here for it. We're all going to have matching aprons. Instead of Christmas pajamas, oh my goodness, we're going to do Christmas aprons. All of us. Oh, it's set in stone.
That is cute.
I need to get on Amazon. Oh, I love the 12 days. One, I go broke because I get so many amazing books. Okay. Everyone gets books from me. And two, I get amazing ideas. Like, oh, this is fabulous. I'm here for it. And I absolutely, absolutely love it. So, Melissa, I know you mentioned after you had kind of finished your residency and figured out that you were going to do ER medicine, you became more comfortable writing, medical thrillers and stuff because you weren't like bogged down. My brother-in-law is in med school at the moment, so I understand where he's just like, don't ask me any medical questions. I don't care. I'm done. Like, no. So I understand
it's
that.
his job. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, like, I get all of that. So, was it something that when you kind of decided to dabble in it, was it something that you just kind of like jumped and like feet first, like, all right, yep, totally ready to do it. We're going to like swim, or was it you had to put your toe in the water? Like, I don't know if I really want to do it. What was that for you?
Well, for me, it was that I was happy to write one book in it, and I was still writing other books, middle grade books, for example, about a 12-year-old who predicts the future with a bowl of popcorn, or I would write tons of stuff. So it didn't matter like this one book, but that was one of my more popular books. So again, sort of going where the market would take me, I just kept following it because I really like Hope. Like she's like me, so I would never abandon her, and I don't want to kill her off for the same reason.
I get it. Yeah, I get when you like one, you can't kill her off. I get it. I get it. So how many books have you written and published in total?
I actually don't count, but I think it must be over 15 now because Hope alone is 9, and The Shapes of Wrath is coming out. Well, I'm just gonna hold it up because I did go out and get my copy, so it's coming out in February. Yay!
Wow, amazing! That's amazing. You are just someone that just loves writing. You and Josie was so great to pair up tonight because you guys just light up when you talk about writing, and you're not afraid to dabble in different avenues or let some spark of inspiration or idea take it and run with it. So you guys are just perfect. Sometimes I nail it, you guys. Sometimes I just nail my lineup. So that, oh man, okay, I absolutely love that. And I feel like you guys have written similarly, the same number of books kind of similarly, which is a really cool thing. And you both write in nonfiction and fiction realms. So how many books are you working on right now? Are you working on any books besides your series?
Well, I'm still hammering out that series, and I'm trying to write a bunch of short stories that are due, which is fun. Like I do love short stories still because they let you flex in different ways, and you're not committed to a world, and they can be fun, because Hope tends to be heavy because someone has to get murdered every time, and it's not as lighthearted as the cozies, So, and I do read a lot about real true crime when I'm doing it. So I do love to have an escape other ways. And I always write nonfiction for the medical club. So that's another thing that's always on the go.
Oh, okay. No, see, I can relate to having to do something happy, not from a writer's standpoint, but when I was watching Breaking Bad, I had to like pause halfway through and watch like children's movies. And this was before I had kids because I needed something happy. So I can understand how you're like, oh, this is heavy. I need to go play in something else. So I could see that for sure. But you just love to write, and whatever you want, is calling your name, you love to do. And so I know that you said that you're working on is it screenplays or playwrights? Screenplays?
Yeah, no, playwriting. Yeah, for theater. We're doing Terminally Ill, the third Hope C novel, as a play, an immersive play with an aerial artist as well. So it's also got circus in it in 2024.
Wow. That's going to be okay. That's going to be cool. I'm excited for that one. If circus and everything, I'm a huge sucker for those kind of things. And medical thrillers are new to me. I'm going to have to check out your book because they're new to me and they're right up my alley. So I'm definitely going to check that out. Yes. Oh my goodness. I am telling you. But I know that you have a holiday promotion going on this holiday season. So can you tell us about that?
Sure. So the first book in the Hope C series, Code Blue. So it's plural. So there's more than one Code Blue going on, and it's on sale for 99 cents for the ebook. So I know a lot of people like to start at the beginning of the series. So this month you could start the beginning of the series and see how Hope came to Montreal and found a dead man in the men's change room. and figure out what happened.
Wow. So do you have to read your books in order, or can you read them like bouncing around throughout your series?
So what I like is that the crime is always solved. There's a new murder every time, so you can jump in anywhere. And it should be pretty self-explanatory. She's a doctor. She's on a new rotation every time. So whether it's this book, she's in the emergency room, on terminally ill, she's on the palliative care ward. It's always something different. So I always tell people, if you're organized, you start at the beginning. But if you're good at just jumping into chaos, like if you're a mother or if you're an emergency doctor, or one of the obstetricians was like, I'm obstetrics, I'm just going to go straight in. You can jump in wherever you want.
See, I love books like that because I am more of the chaotic. I'm going to just dive in. This cover looks great. Let's do it. And then I get hooked and then I bounce around. That must be the mother in me or ADHD, one of the two, one of the two. But for me personally, if I have to start with one book and then each one I have to follow in order and I have to start at the first one, it's much more difficult for me. I like the flexibility of choosing. So I like that your series is, you can kind of choose if you want to be chaotic or if you're super organized, which yet again, I failed outline. So obviously I'm not, you can start with the first one. So I love series and stuff that do that and writers that do that. I think it's very versatile. And so it's an amazing thing, but I am just so glad I got to meet you and talk. You are just an amazing, accomplished writer and just person. I'm so excited that I got to meet you and you came on to hang out with me on the 12 days. It's so much fun to meet and hear news. And you introduced me to medical thrillers. I've done this for a long time and I've never met anyone that writes that. So it is I'm fascinated by it. I'm excited.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed meeting you and Josie and seeing Mickey.
Oh, yeah. Mickey's cool. Mickey's one coming up next, everybody. So for all of my people that don't know Mickey, tell everybody what you do and how long you've been doing it.
Amy, do you realize that I think it's this week alone where we actually met 1 year ago?
Yes, Mickey.
When I threatened you to say not to steal my clients, and then we had a conversation about that, and next thing you know, we're like working together on magazines and getting a podcast network in January and just stuff. So happy 1 year, big sister.
Happy 1 year from you threatening me, Mickey. It was the greatest day.
And I saw everybody getting Christmas stuff. I didn't know that Melissa had gotten like an apron. So kudos to you, Melissa. I went and got a red tie so I could fit right in with this. How does that sound? So my name's Mickey Mickelson. I am a book publicist out of Canada who represents authors pretty much all over the world. Canadians, Melissa and Josie, I work with them. Canadians, United States authors, UK authors, one from New Zealand, Australian authors, and I have international media connections. So that's what I do from a traditional sense, as well as threaten, host, to not steal my clients when I meet them. So yeah.
True. That's true. You also own Top Shelf Magazine.
Co-own. You own it too. Co-own.
I do. Yes. So that's true. Yes, I do. But how long have you been doing PR, Mickey?
Since March of 2016.
And so what was the transition where you decided that you wanted to pursue PR full-time and work with authors?
This opportunity fell in my lap. I was working in the corporate structure for like 8 years, on the road 6 days a week. One of my coworkers, Miranda O, wrote a book. Previous to working in the executive world, I actually worked at Indigo as a bookseller and a special events person. So I told her I would help her get some book signings. And that she was my first client. And she did really well with book signings. Next thing you know, all the other people that I had booked through Indigo started reaching out and saying, Mickey, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? So I formed a little company, and by August of that same year, I think I'd signed like 24 to 36 authors, all through word of mouth, no advertising at all.
I mean, that's the best kind of marketing is by word of mouth.
Yeah. So that's what happened. And then go forward, doing this for part-time for 3+ years. Company decides to merge with another company and, well, let Mickey go as an executive decision, along with 36 other people. And I made a decision. Either I go full-time with this, or I go back on the road for 6 days a week with another company. Well, I choose this. And now I have over 110 authors worldwide, New York Times bestsellers, USA Today bestsellers, award winners, and accomplished people like Josie and Melissa, who are very, very accomplished, both of them. So, yeah.
Oh, they are. Yes.
I know.
Such a delight.
I agree.
But besides the fact that, 1 year ago this week, you threatened my life pretty much. Besides all of that, Mickey was booking. So you guys, all of you guys that were on the 12 days and all of you guys listening and watching over on our channels and everything, you guys know my podcast is Author Talk. And so Mickey had reached out to have some of his authors on there. And that's when he threatened me. He's like, I see you have another publicist on there. And I want to make sure that no conversations are going to happen with my clients. I was like, oh, yeah, no, she's retired. It's all good. I promise, because I had stepped aside. So I used to do PR for a really long time. And I moved back into book marketing. That's what I enjoy. And so Mickey put the fear of God in me, like, oh, we can't have any conversations. And I remember sending out the text message, you guys, we're not doing any business talk after Author Talk with anybody. Like, no, okay, we're going to let them go. We're going to let them go, okay? Like, this guy, we're going to let him go. It was the funniest thing because you wouldn't know that now. Like, me and Mickey talk daily and collaborate on a bunch of stuff. But I know Mickey kind of mentioned it, and you can talk a little bit about it. But, I mean, what all aspects do you do? You do book signings, speaking engagements. What kind of other things do you offer authors?
Yeah, so it's all about traditional media veins, independent podcasts, newspapers, TV, magazine spreads, all those kind of things. And then the strength of it, and this is where I guess you would come in, Amy, is the business, and Josie actually as well, because she is a senior editor for Reader's Entertainment Magazine. But it's all about building those media affiliates and marketability and not treating everything like a business, and more treating it like a community. I mean, even a year ago, working with you, Amy, I never imagined that 1 year later we would co-own a magazine together, and that we would be working on a daily basis on stuff together, or working with Josie 4 years ago, and next thing you know, she's like posting every press release I send her on a monthly basis. Like, that just normally doesn't ever happen in this industry. So that's why I say it's all based on relationships and community rather than commodity and being a business relationship. It's different, in my opinion.
Right. No, for sure. So I know everybody is excited that you decided to do this full time. You've had incredible success with all of your authors, and the connection. You can make media connections like no other. Oh my goodness. I have seen it in action, and it is the coolest thing. And so
thanks.
The way that you help authors and support them and get them out there and really help them be known outside of their bubble is, to me, the greatest thing that you can do, besides the author writing such incredible books off of, their creativity and their inspiration that they have. It's the greatest thing because you're helping them get their stories read by more people and seen by more people, and to go farther than their family and friends in their small little community. And I think that's important and should be recognized because it's something that is very critical, especially, to traditional authors, but especially to indie, self-published, small presses. It's really pivotal for them because there's amazing writers out there that are indie and small press and all of that. And so it's really important that they also get those opportunities and you provide them with that. So it is something that should be acknowledged, and you should be so proud of what you do because you are very good.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are welcome.
You know, it's funny too. It's whenever I sign a new client that's indie published and they're saying, well, you're only focusing on indies, right? You're not focusing on traditionals at all, because those traditional authors, they've got it made already with Penguin or Hachette or HarperCollins or Simon and Schuster. They're like, they don't need you. So of course you'd only sign like indies. And that's actually not the case. It's actually the complete opposite, because unless you're, and I'm going to say a name and I hope it doesn't hold against me, unless you're Stephen King, even Penguin with their mid-list authors, they don't do all the marketability for their authors that they need to do. And so my mandate around this, and I've said this before on other shows, is all those mainstream mid-traditional authors or all those self-published authors who are investing money and real money in developing book covers, getting proper images, professional looks, getting proper formats, all of them, and I mean all of them, deserve to be on those mainstream stages like the Stephen Kings and the J.K. Rowlings of the world. That's my opinion and my belief.
Absolutely. See, I'm telling you, that is why what you do makes a difference. See, look, you do a great job, right? Opportunities for authors to get their work out there. See, it's definitely one of those things that is much, much needed. But Mickey, thanks for hanging out with me on the 12 days and partying with me.
It was lovely to see you, Amy, again. And Melissa and Josie, it's been too long. So nice to see both of you.
I love it. Well, you guys, to get these holiday promotions from these two amazing and accomplished writers, they're in the comment section below. They will also be in the replay on the heading when I replay this and share it. But you guys, don't forget, tomorrow we have a new round of authors, new holiday promotions, and on December 12th, that's Monday at noon Central, all of these authors are going to be back, the ones that can make it. All of their holiday promotions will be mentioned once again with all of the links and everything. And that is going to be a free-for-all. So however long that authors want to show up and talk about their promotions, we will be promoting them and putting them in the comments Monday at noon. So mark your calendars to make sure, because it is the best gift that you can give anyone this holiday season is a book. You take them out of reality, get them away, let them escape, motivate them, inspire them, whichever avenue that they need. And so this is the way that you can do it. And these holiday promotions are not going to be around much longer. So take advantage of them as you can. But I will see everybody tomorrow night. Bye, everybody.